Hello children, today we will begin with a very interesting topic, that is human anatomy and physiology. We are already through with plant physiology, and I am sure human physiology would interest you more, knowing about your own body, your own organ systems. And today we will begin with the circulatory system, or what we refer to as the cardiovascular system. So first thing, what does circulation mean? Circulation means transport, movement, and we are talking of some circulation or transport in our body. So first of all, we need to know which are the fluids which are concerned with this transport or circulation. So the three principal fluids concerned with this are blood, lymph and tissue fluid, in which the two principal circulating or moving fluids are blood and lymph. Tissue fluid remains around the cells, doesn't move in the body, but two principal circulating fluids are blood and lymph. Now there is a direct connection between the three fluids. To understand that, just refer to this diagram which I have made here. Now this is a body organ. This body organ is being supplied blood. What kind of blood? Oxygenated blood. Everywhere I will be depicting oxygenated with red and deoxygenated with blue. So this organ is being supplied oxygenated blood through a blood vessel which is called the artery. These are the blood vessels. This artery enters into this organ and divides into number of blood capillaries, what you can see here. These capillaries further unite and leave as vein. So artery is bringing oxygenated blood into the organ, and vein is carrying deoxygenated blood away from the organ. But in between, what is happening? These are the different cells arranged as tissues inside the organ, and you will see many capillaries which are here, passing here, are touching these cells. Reason is that walls of the capillaries are very thin, and from these thin and leaky walls, oxygen and nutrients diffuse out. They are supplied to these cells in the organs. Carbon dioxide and waste is collected and then it leaves through the vein. But if you have noticed, these capillaries are not able to reach every cell in the organ or every body cell. So for this, a special adaptation is there. What happens here? When blood passes from the artery into the capillaries, capillaries are very thin walled. So here, when from a broader diameter blood gushes into a capillary of narrower diameter, the pressure is very high. And under this high pressure, a large liquid amount of blood, liquid content of the blood, mainly plasma, we will talk about it, and white blood cells leak out. And once they leak out, they surround the cells which are present in the organ. Now here in yellow dots, I have shown this leaked liquid consisting mainly of plasma and white blood cells. This liquid will also contain nutrients and dissolved gases, and it will bathe all the cells in it. This fluid present in the interstitial or intercellular space is called the tissue fluid or the interstitial fluid. So blood only forms the tissue fluid. Why does it form? Because blood, through its blood vessels or capillaries, cannot reach each and every cell of the body, and so it leaks out and it bathes all the cells for the exchange to occur. Once this exchange occurs, every body cell now receives its oxygen and nutrient supply and gets rid of its nitrogenous waste and carbon dioxide. A major amount of it is reabsorbed by these uniting capillaries and leaves through the vein, but still a certain amount is left trapped here in the intercellular or in the interstitial spaces. What to do? Every time blood passes through an organ, it cannot afford to leave its liquid content there. Otherwise, blood would go on becoming thicker and thicker and it won't be able to move in the body very soon. So here comes to rescue the lymphatic system or the lymph vessels. I have shown some lymph vessels here. So this is nothing but a magnified view of this area. So just focus on this area, remaining will be explained later. This is a body organ which is being supplied by blood capillaries. Here exchange occurred, the nutrients were given, the oxygen was given, waste was removed, carbon dioxide, a lot of it left, but some of it was stranded here as tissue fluid. In this area arise the lymph vessels. Lymph vessels are finger-like projections, just like your fingers, they are blind-ended. Just like blotting paper or tissue paper, they have a soaking action. So they are going to arise from this area like blind-ended fingers and soak up, just like your tissue paper or blotting paper soaks up the liquid. It is going to soak up all the tissue fluid which is now laden with carbon dioxide, with nitrogenous waste. It will soak that up and move through a separate lymphatic system, a system of lymph vessels. It will move through a separate system. In between, lymph nodes will also come. The lymph vessels pass through lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are the filtering stations. Now these filtering stations will remove all the waste which was moving through this. So lymph is nothing but the tissue fluid which was trapped here, which is full of waste, which has lot of proteins of course because it has plasma, and it has white blood cells, mainly which white blood cells? Lymphocytes. We will study about the types of white blood cells very soon. So that is why it is called lymph, because it has loads of lymphocytes. So now this moves through a separate channel and opens into the main vein before it is opening into the heart, ensuring that the blood which had become thicker here, its original liquidity or its original composition is restored. So I would repeat again, the three liquids or fluids which are concerned with circulation are blood, lymph and tissue fluid. Blood is a red colored, slightly alkaline fluid, slightly salty to taste. So this fluid is the one which is flowing through the blood vessels. Blood vessels are of three kinds: arteries, veins and capillaries. Lymph is the straw colored liquid. This straw colored liquid flows through the lymphatic system or through the lymph vessels. It lacks red blood cells and that is why it is somewhat straw colored or off-white in color. The tissue fluid is the interstitial fluid which is trapped in the intercellular spaces surrounding the cells inside body organs. Blood only leaks out and forms the tissue fluid. Tissue fluid, after it has brought about the exchange, is soaked up by the lymph vessels and gives rise to the lymph. So blood is leading to the formation of tissue fluid, which in turn is leading to the formation of lymph. This is how circulation works in our body. Now a thought comes to our mind that what is the need for this circulation? Why is it needed? Now there are very important things which every body cell needs. First, oxygen. Second, nutrients. Third, hormones. Hormones also play a very important role in our body. We will study about it in endocrine system. So these nutrients, these gases, these hormones need to reach every body cell. Now what will the body cell want to get rid of? It wants to get rid of carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste like urea. It needs to remove all that from it, and all this excretory, digestive, transporting, all these functions are done by the principal circulating fluids or principal fluids in our body. So that is the need for circulation. Every body cell requires nutrition, requires oxygen and needs to remove waste, needs to remove carbon dioxide, needs its hormone supply, and for that circulation is needed in the body. Now human circulation is principally called double circulation and also closed circulation. So if you are asked write two main characteristics of human circulation, you will use the word double circulation and closed circulation. So why is it called closed and why is it called doubled? I will be explaining it to you. Closed because the blood is flowing inside blood vessels. I told you three kinds of blood vessels are there: arteries, veins and capillaries, and all these blood vessels are intact. They are closed. That is why human circulation is called closed circulation. Unlike the circulation in insects where blood flows in open spaces, no intact blood vessels are there. So if for 1 mark you are asked why is human circulation called closed circulation, you will say because blood flows through intact blood vessels, that is arteries, veins and capillaries. Second thing, why is human circulation called double circulation? Now double means twice. For completing one full round in the body, blood passes through the heart twice. I repeat, for completing one full round in the body, blood passes through the heart twice, and that is why human circulation is called double circulation. It is of two kinds. Pulmonary circulation is the short distance circulation and systemic circulation is the long distance circulation. Pulmonary, as the name says, is related to lungs. So circulation between heart and lungs is called what? Pulmonary circulation. Whereas circulation between heart and all the body organs, different body organs, is called systemic. Many of you call it systematic. Systematic is a different word. We call this systemic circulation. So please learn this spelling. So if you are asked for 1 mark that why is human circulation called double circulation, you will simply write because for completing one full round in the body, blood passes through the heart twice. It is of two kinds, pulmonary between heart and lungs and systemic between heart and rest of the body. Now let's see what is happening here. From the heart comes out the blood vessels called the arteries. Remember, arteries carry oxygenated blood. So from the heart come out the arteries. The largest artery in our body is the aorta. It is the aorta. So first the main branch comes and from that several sub branches emerge. You can imagine the water supply system in your colony or in your area. There is one big pipe which is bringing water, and from there several outlets are made and every house is receiving the supply of clean drinking water. Something similar is happening in our body. So aorta is the main branch which is bringing the oxygenated blood, from which several arteries come out and supply different organs of our body like stomach or intestine or liver or the gonads or reproductive organs. Every organ receives its supply through different arteries, but the main branch or the largest artery is the aorta. Once this oxygenated blood reaches the different body organs, what happens inside? This is just one place. This happens inside every body organ. These arteries divide into several capillaries, and from here, as I have explained you here, what happens? Exchange is going to occur. After the exchange is over, again these capillaries will reunite and the deoxygenated blood laden with waste will leave this organ. Now this deoxygenated blood leaves through the blood vessels called the veins. So veins carry deoxygenated blood, shown here in blue. Now blood is never blue in color, it is red or dirty red, maroonish in color, but in our diagrams we show it as red and blue. So this is deep red or dirty red in color, you could say. So veins are carrying what? Deoxygenated blood. Largest vein in our body is what? Vena cava. So it's just like you could say the sewage line in your locality. So from every house the sewage is being collected and through a major line it is leaving the colony. So this could be compared to the water supply system, this could be the waste water supply or the sewage line which is carrying all the waste, all the dirty and deoxygenated blood. Second difference between artery and vein is arteries carry blood away from the heart and towards the organ. They are carrying which blood? Oxygenated blood. From where to where? If any vessel is carrying anything, you need to specify from where to where. So they are carrying oxygenated blood away from the heart and towards the organ. Likewise, veins are carrying deoxygenated blood away from the organs and towards the heart. So I hope the difference between the artery and vein for the time being is also clear to you. There are more differences which we will be discussing soon. So this is our systemic plan. Now what is the pulmonary plan? From the heart, a pulmonary artery comes out. Now this is an artery. It should have been in red color like I told you, because arteries carry oxygenated blood. But here is the exceptional case. Pulmonary artery is the only artery in our body which carries deoxygenated blood, unlike arteries. All arteries carry oxygenated blood except for pulmonary artery which carries deoxygenated blood. One thing is true about this artery, it's carrying blood away from the heart towards the organ, but it is carrying which kind of blood? Deoxygenated blood. Secondly, we have one more exception, and that is what? Pulmonary vein. Again, this vein has been shown in red color, unlike to what I told you just now, that veins are always shown in blue color because they carry deoxygenated blood. So I am sure you've guessed it by now that pulmonary vein is the only vein which is carrying oxygenated blood in our body. So this still lies true that arteries carry oxygenated blood except for pulmonary artery. You have to add that, and veins carry deoxygenated blood except for pulmonary vein. But this is true that the vein is carrying blood away from the organ and towards the heart. Now why is this exception needed here? Because heart has to send the blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Because lungs have alveoli and exchange of gases occurs between the alveoli and the blood capillaries surrounding the alveoli. So this pulmonary artery, when it enters inside the lungs, it's going to split or divide into several blood capillaries which surround the alveoli of the lungs. Exchange would occur between the alveolar air and the blood in the blood capillaries. The blood would get oxygenated and pulmonary vein would bring it back to the heart. Now you must have seen now that for completing this one full round, blood passed through the heart twice. First, it went from heart to lungs, came back to heart, and heart is the pumping station of the body. From here through aorta, it went to different body organs, and the vena cava collected the deoxygenated blood and brought it back to the heart. So I hope you have understood what is double circulation and why is it called so. Now we will begin with the first principal circulating fluid in our body, and that is blood. Blood, like I told you, is slightly alkaline in nature with a pH of 7.3 to 7.4. It is deep red in color due to the presence of a pigment called hemoglobin in its red blood cells. So it is deep red in color, slightly alkaline and saltish to taste. Blood has two main parts. The liquid part of the blood is called the plasma, and the cellular or somewhat solid part of the blood, they are called the corpuscles or the cells. 55 to 60% of blood is liquid and is plasma, and 40 to 45% of the component of the blood is the corpuscles or the cells, the cellular component of the blood. Plasma has mainly water. 90 to 92% of plasma is water. What else does it have along with water? It has some inorganic salts like sodium chloride and sodium bicarbonate. It has lots of proteins, and one principal protein about which we will be talking about is fibrinogen. Fibrinogen is a very important protein required for clotting. So we will discuss that under the clotting section. It has lots of hormones. We know that our body has two controls, nervous control and endocrine control. So hormones bring about the endocrine control. It has glucose, amino acids and lots of other nutrients. So they are all dissolved in the plasma, the liquid part of the blood. This corpuscle part of the blood includes three kinds of corpuscles: red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets. The red blood cells, as the name says, are red in color. They are also called erythrocytes. Erythrin is a red colored dye or a pigment. So they are also called erythrocytes because of their red color. White blood cells are also called leukocytes. Leuko means whitish or colorless. And platelets are also called thrombocytes. Thrombus means clot. So your platelets help in clotting of blood. So overall, if you are asked to write functions of blood, so blood is the principal circulating fluid in our body which transports oxygen, it carries nutrients, carries respiratory gases, you could say, takes oxygen to the needy cells, collects CO2 back from it, carries nutrients and waste, supplies nutrients to the body cells, collects waste from that. Then it carries hormones and all these important things, that is glucose, amino acids, they are all transported in the body by the blood. The white blood cells are called the soldiers of the body. So they protect the body from various diseases. So that is another function of blood. So it provides defense in our body. And platelets help in clotting of blood. Clotting is important for our body when it occurs on the surface of the body. Inside our body, clotting is not good, but if there is a cut or an injury on the surface of the skin, you must have noticed bleeding occurs for some time and then it stops, because that wound is sealed with a clot. And who helps in formation of the clot? Platelets. So blood has platelets which prevents its own loss on an injury with the help of clotting. So whatever are the functions of RBCs, WBCs and platelets, these are only the functions of the blood. That is transporting gases, transporting nutrients and hormones, providing defense to the body and preventing its own loss by forming clots. To begin with, we will talk about RBCs today. RBCs or the red blood cells. Now red blood cells or the erythrocytes are called deficient yet efficient. Deficient yet efficient. I am sure you know the meaning of deficient. Deficient means lacking something, and efficient, somebody who is very good at something. So why are they called deficient? Because they lack three things. What are the three things which the red blood cells lack? They lack nucleus, mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum. Now when they are formed, they have a nucleus, but they become enucleated at maturity. They lack a nucleus at maturity. They lack a mitochondria and they lack endoplasmic reticulum. Now these three deficiencies make them more efficient in doing their work. What is their main work? To transport oxygen to the different body cells. How does it make them more efficient? To understand that, we need to understand the structure of a red blood cell. We have studied in the lesson cell that the shape of the cell is related to the function it performs. So what is the shape of an RBC? RBCs are circular. They are very small in size and they are circular and they are biconcave. I am making dotted lines here which indicates a depression. So one depression is here, what you can see, and one depression is on the other side. If we take a side view of RBCs, they look somewhat like this, dumbbell shape. This is one concavity and this is the other concavity. This is what RBCs look like. So what is the shape? Biconcave and disc-like, or what we call as circular. Now why are they biconcave? Because the nucleus in them goes missing. So there is empty space inside it, and so depressions develop on both sides. Now how does this shape help it in performing the function it has to perform? This shape increases the surface area. So now RBCs can absorb or take up more of oxygen. So biconcave shape enables them to carry, increases their surface area, enables them to carry more oxygen. The smallness of the RBCs also has an important role to play. They are very small in size. The capillaries are very thin, and in this narrow diameter the RBCs can easily move in a single file because of their small size. So their small size and their biconcave shape helps them to perform the function which they have to perform, that is transport oxygen to different or to all body cells in different body organs. Now which other thing do the RBCs lack? They lack a mitochondria. So we have discussed nucleus, what is the advantage? Now mitochondria. You know mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell and it helps in cellular respiration. Now for cellular respiration they need to take up oxygen. Oxygen is needed for respiration. So if mitochondria is only missing, RBC is not going to use any oxygen for itself, and so whatever oxygen it is supposed to transport, it's going to deliver all of it to the needy cells. This is happening at its maturity when RBCs is ready to deliver oxygen. So absence of nucleus makes it biconcave so that it can take up more oxygen. Absence of mitochondria enables it not to use any oxygen for itself and to transport all of it to the needy cells. And absence of endoplasmic reticulum or ER, how does it help the RBC? Now we know endoplasmic reticulum is the supporting skeleton or the cytoskeleton. Skeleton provides support, keeps the cells stretched, rigid, but when supporting skeleton is not there, it gives lot of flexibility to the RBCs. They can easily squeeze and pass through the narrow diameter of the capillaries. So these are the three deficiencies, and I have explained to you how these deficiencies make the RBC more efficient. So this is about RBC's structure. Next comes the RBC's lifespan. RBCs live for a period of 120 days. 120 days, after which they are destroyed. Now how are they formed? They are formed in the liver and spleen of the embryo. In embryo they are formed in liver and spleen, whereas in our bodies they are formed in the bone marrow of long bones. Our breastbone or sternum or ribs, they are long bones. So in the bone marrow of long bones they are formed in adults, whereas in children up to the age of 5 years they are formed in the bone marrow of every bone in the body. So basically they have three sites where they are formed: liver, spleen and bone marrow of long bones, and they are destroyed at these three sites only. That means they are destroyed in the liver, in the spleen and in the bone marrow. Now RBCs contain a red colored pigment known as hemoglobin. Hemoglobin. Here heme is the iron part and globin is the protein part. Heme is the iron part. When the RBC is destroyed, body doesn't want to lose the iron part. When it is destroyed in the liver, the heme is stored in the liver and globin is removed. So RBCs are destroyed in the liver, heme part or iron is stored. This hemoglobin, what we represent as HB, is the main transporter of oxygen. Function of RBC is to carry oxygen. Now who helps it to carry oxygen? The red colored pigment called hemoglobin. How does it help in transport? Hemoglobin binds with oxygen to form a compound, oxyhemoglobin. Oxyhemoglobin is the compound which is formed between the red pigment hemoglobin and between oxygen. This oxyhemoglobin is a very unstable compound, very unstable. When the blood moves through the arteries and reaches the capillaries and all the cells are present here and it has to supply that oxygen to the body cells, this hemoglobin, which is an unstable compound, easily breaks. When it easily breaks, it's going to release the oxygen. The body cells are going to get the oxygen, and in return what will they give back? They will release carbon dioxide. Now this hemoglobin combines with carbon dioxide now to form another compound called carb-aminohemoglobin. So we have HbO2 as oxyhemoglobin and CO2 with hemoglobin as carb-aminohemoglobin. Now this carb-aminohemoglobin is also an unstable compound. When this reaches here and from here the blood goes into the lungs, this carb-aminohemoglobin is going to break and it will give what? Carbon dioxide to the alveolar air, takes up oxygen, again oxyhemoglobin will be formed, again it will come here and will be supplied to different body parts. So two important compounds of hemoglobin which enable it to transport O2 and CO2 are oxyhemoglobin and carb-aminohemoglobin. So main function of RBC is to transport gases, and who is helping it to do that? It's pigment, red colored pigment called hemoglobin, where heme is the iron part and globin is the protein part. So one more compound is formed between hemoglobin and carbon monoxide. You must have studied about it in chemistry under carbon monoxide poisoning. You know, carbon monoxide is called a silent killer. Now, why does it kill a person in sleep only? Because it is a colorless, odorless gas, and hemoglobin has a great affinity or likeness to combine with carbon monoxide. And which compound is formed here? It is called carboxy hemoglobin. Carboxy hemoglobin. So we have three names now. Oxy is clear. Now children get confused between compound of hemoglobin and CO2 and hemoglobin and CO. CO is carboxy and CO2 is carb amino hemoglobin. You have to learn all these three names. So once hemoglobin combines with carbon monoxide to form carboxy hemoglobin, no hemoglobin is left free to bind with oxygen, and moreover carbon monoxide poisoning occurs in limited supply of oxygen in a closed room where coal fire is burning. So in such case oxygen is limited, hemoglobin is given a choice to combine with carbon monoxide and it forms this compound. Entire hemoglobin is saturated and that suffocates and kills the person. So this was all about hemoglobin and about the structure, formation, destruction and function of RBCs. On the next turn we will be talking about other components of the blood.